Okay, this will be part 3 of the same session of training. We ended part 2 talking about the black tiger punch. Now the black tiger punch, just to review quickly, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you're shooting your arm forward in the punch, the other arm has to be pulling backward at the same rate. A good analogy my teacher always used was imagine you're tearing cloth. So you're not going to tear cloth by simply pulling with one hand. You're going to pull and push at the same time. Or tearing a phone book. That's another nice one. It kind of gives you the idea of what's going on. Now we're not going to get into a lot of internal mechanics yet. In this video we'll talk a little bit about the 6 harmonies and we'll give you the 3 cannons exercise, which is really important in Drunken. Alright, so before we get onto the punches and the punching drill, I'd like to talk about the Drunken stance itself, the one that's most commonly used in Drunken boxing. I'm going to get my camera person, see how politically correct I am, camera person to come out, and she's going to help me test my stance. Now, the stance is normally a cat, as I already talked about, 90%, 10%, the ball or the barrel on the chest, which sinks the chest and creates the round back, okay, that we had before. Now, when you do this properly, you should end up with a shelf at the bottom of the chest, right at the xiphoid process or the solar plexus, onto your abdominal muscle, okay? A little tiny shelf. Now, I don't care if you're extremely thin. What this will do is, as you curve the back like that, the abdominal wall should extend forward. So you're going to get a very small shelf there. Now that shelf is going to be what we're going to use as our testing ground. So when I stand into my Drunken stance, I appear quite unstable. I appear to be very back heavy, weighted, wanting to be pushed over. So my partner here is going to put her hand on the shelf, okay, at the bottom of my chest. And as she pushes, I shouldn't fall over. If I have this happen, my stance is incorrect. A stance in Drunken boxing can only appear to be weak. It cannot actually be weak. Okay? So as she pushes, I'll just explain what's going on. Yeah, push, like push, right? There you go. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, that's tasty. Okay. Now what I should be doing is I should be actively using the back leg. So what that means is that instead of just taking force from her, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down with my right heel in this case, my rear heel. And what that'll do is it'll bring my mind intent down to that foot. And in case of this, what it'll do is it'll draw her energy, her power, her forward momentum down to the back foot, and thus through into the spine, around the curve, and down to the ground. That's how I should be able to stand there, even though it looks like a light breeze would knock me over. Right? No good. If I'm doing this correctly, when she pushes, I just push back, if you will, with the back heel. Now, I'm not, just stay there, I'm not doing this. If I push back at her as she moves away quickly, I'm going to fall forward, which means I'm not in control of my movement. Thanks. If I'm not in control of my movement, then I've missed the point of Drunken. So you have to be pushing down with the rear heel, equalizing the pressure that you feel on your abdomen. And your partner should be pushing at first kind of in a downward 45, nice and tasty, right into your back leg, super easy to resist, and then slowly work it up until it's a perfect level push. Because that's what you're going to get hit with. Somebody trying to push you backwards, okay? Now, if you do choose to take a step in fighting or in a push exercise, a push hands type drill, the step should be very much on purpose, okay? So if somebody were pushing me and I started to feel overwhelmed, I shouldn't just fall out of the way. I should be able to take that pressure and allow it to pick up my front foot, put the foot back, and switch stances. So one of the kind of crappy to do but good for you drills is just actually taking the Drunken stance and walking extremely carefully from stance to stance, feeling the weight transferring into each foot as you do it. A good analogy for this is 2 glasses, one filled with water, one without. As my rear full leg changes as I step forward, I pour the water into the front leg. And it has to be on purpose. It can't just be sort of splash it all over there and hope it works. It has to be on purpose. Nothing in Kung Fu is by accident. Kung Fu takes a great deal of time and effort because we're trying to not do things by accident. We're trying to do things on purpose. So make sure you're pouring the water from leg to leg very, very carefully. And if you have a partner to work with, get a little bit of weight pushing on you. If you choose to retreat, make sure that weight is on the front of your body as you retreat, carefully. If you have somebody behind you pushing, make sure that you take that same step, keeping your stance forward, not getting pushed forward, okay? It's very, very important, very, very important. You should appear weak while you're strong, right? When strong, appear weak, it says. Now, good drill. The next thing is going to be the 3 cannons. And this is the name of a punch drill. It's 3 punches. But it sounds super cool, right? 3 cannons. Ooh. First thing you need to know here is part of the Taoist numerology that's involved in this drunken style. There's a numerological sequence that we use from 1 to 8, generally speaking. The very last level you work on the 9th, doesn't matter right now. 1 to 8. Now, when you're learning these, you kind of jump around. You don't learn them in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Some of them are a little bit more lower level, if you will, easier to understand than others. So we're going to start on the number 6 right now, which is the 6 harmonies. The 6 harmonies are 3 pairings of joints. Lots of you have heard about this before. The pairings of joints are the hips and the shoulders, the elbows and the knees, and the ankles and the wrists. 6 joints, 6 harmonies. The reason they're called harmonies is because they all have to move in concert with one another. And they have to move in that order. From the inside of the body, hip, shoulder, to the outside of the body. Hip, shoulder, then further down the 2 limbs, knee and elbow, further down the 2 limbs, ankle and wrist. That's what the 3 punches that we're going to do, the cannon drill, the 3 cannons, that's what it's about. It's trying to get your 6 harmonies to work properly. Okay? So it's a very large movement, it's very easy to kind of feel things going on. It's not something like an old frame Chen stylist who's going to do things that are extremely small and hard to see even though they work. Okay? This is more new frame vibe. Very big, very obvious spirals. So, the 3 punches for the 3 cannons start like this. I'm in my horse, okay? I'm in my drunken horse, drunken back, cup fists out in front, and you're going to twist one leg in into what's called a soft-toed boxer stance in the sun, okay? So you're soft-toed, and you fire your hands out. The front hand is pointed straight. The punch is straight-ish. It's actually on a very, very gentle curve inwards in this case, to follow the curve of my wrist. The rear hand sweeps across behind you, okay? And what this is really all about is actually the waist. The movement of the hand is basically useless without the waist. So what I'm doing is I'm twisting my waist to the left, engaging the 6 harmonies and allowing that to push and pull my arms into position. That's our first punch. E. Now the second punch, we're going to bring our weight over and stand up into a crane stance and twist our hips as we do so. This twist should lift our leg, create a block, which is the drink you see in all of the drunken forms, and create the punch. Okay? So, E, step up, twist the waist to the right in this case, R. That's going to be your second one. I'm being told I'm out of time. So, we'll have to hit the third of the 3 cannons in our next one. But that's okay. Thanks a lot.